Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Smith, a Georgia Teacher of the Year finalist, and I am here to share my promising practice with you that I use in my classroom. During the pandemic, it was difficult for students to learn hands-on while they were at home in a virtual setting. I utilized a program called Streamlabs OBS to create engaging digital content to help flip the classroom, support them in remediation, and also just offer additional ways for them to see the content. So I would like to share with you today a simple lesson that I have done where my students are learning electronics through the use of Arduino boards and C++ programming. I'm going to go through and explain the different scenes as I have created them and the benefit it is to my students. So first off, this first scene I have created is basically where I would instruct my students on what we're going to do. I would say, all right, class, today we're going to be doing an Arduino Lab 3, and we're going to be creating a circuit for a stoplight and programming it to blink in the same series that real stoplights do. So on this screen, I like to include logos and schematics and anything that's beneficial to kind of get them engaged. The second scene that I have created, this is actually all of our materials. So we need a breadboard, we need an Arduino board, we need our LEDs for our lights, and we have our negative jumper wires and our positive jumper wires. So at this point, I would pull up the schematic, and I have a scene for this within Streamlabs, so the students could see, what we're going to do. And I would talk about, okay, our red LED is going to be connected to the 12 pin on the board. Our yellow LED is going to be connected to the 11 pin, and our green LED will be connected to the 10 pin. So at this point, I would go back to my previous scene and actually work through this. So I'm going to plug up my Arduino board. All right, so it has power. And I'm going to start by putting my LEDs in. So these LEDs have a positive and a negative leg. All right, a long and a short. Our positive is the long leg, and our negative is the short leg. Those are called the anode and cathode. So I'm going to put my positive legs towards the top of the board. I'm going to skip a few holes in between just so that way I have room to place my wires. So I'm going to, skip 4 holes. And then I'm going to put in my green, and when I do so, 2, 4, skip 4 holes. All right, just give myself some space to actually create this. So I would talk to my students about the ground and running the negative electrons through the ground. So I'm going to take this wire and plug it into the ground side of the board. Then I'm going to plug in my other negative wires with the negative leg of the LED. So remember, our small leg is towards this side. So I'm going to plug in that negative wire and then put it along the negative channel on the breadboard. So I'm going to do this for all of the LEDs. Negative, negative, and finally my last negative. So while I'm talking to them, I'll be telling them how I'm using the black wires to denote negative, so we're going to use the different colored wires for our positive. All right, and our positive, remember, it needs to go in our different pins. So red goes into the 12 pin on the board. So if you look at the side here, you'll see that there's numbers. So I'm putting red into my 12 pin, and it comes on. And then I'm putting green. I'm going to do green next. Green actually goes into the 10 pin, and I have power on green. And then yellow goes into the 11 pin. And now I have all 3 of my lights are working. I know it's kind of hard to see from the top down view, but I do have green, yellow, and red all on. So at this point, I would move into a whole new scene, right? I would maybe go into this scene and review the schematic again. If they have any issues, talk them through it. And then I would move into the software. So my board is already preloaded with the software, and that's why my lights came on. So my students' lights wouldn't be working. So we would go through together and actually do the programming. So pin mode, red was 12, and that's going to be an output. Pin mode, 11 was our yellow, it's also an output. And then our green pin mode is a 10, and it is an output. So this is just setting up the different pins, but we actually have to use a digital write within our loop to turn them on. So I would say 12 pin high, and that would turn on red. If I want to turn off my yellow, I would set it to low, and I want to set my green also to low. So I click this check mark up here on the top left, and then the arrow to the right, which is our upload button. And now you will see, if I go back to my board, only the red light is on. All right, then I could go back into my software, change scenes again back to the software, and maybe this time I turn on the green. So I'm going to set green to high, and I'm going to change red to low. And again, I compile and upload. And now, when the students look at the board, only the green light is on. So at this point in the video, I would probably stop and have them actually figure out how to program these lights to turn on and off to represent a real-world stoplight. All right, so this is just a sample lesson of how I've used Streamlabs OBS to create various scenes, so that way I can support the different content and hands-on activities in my classroom. Thank you.